2026 will be the year of the firehorse, and this is the year some zodiac signs don't just change, they explode forward. Picture a horse made of flame, not to scorch, but to clear the underbrush. A bright, fast current that pries open gates, burns off what's dead, and pushes anything living to run. That is the firehorse in a sentence. It is acceleration with a purpose. The heat is refining, not purely destructive. The movement it brings is sudden, incisive, and demands an answer. Act, adjust, or be left watching from the sidelines. If 2026 feels like your moment, subscribe now. This forecast will help you decide where to point your energy. What the firehorse means in practice. Imagine an engine that revs higher than usual. Projects that have sputtered will find new fuel. Conversations that stalled will snap back into motion. Old structures, jobs, relationships, habits that are brittle will either be cleared away or forced to be rebuilt quickly. Unlike quieter years that reward patience, the firehorse rewards decisiveness. It hands you momentum but not the map. You still need judgment. How to read this forecast. The Chinese zodiac gives us a seasonal current, acceleration, purification, and the possibility of sudden openings. And I'm overlaying that current on Western sun sign archetypes. Some signs naturally resonate with swiftness and boldness. For them, 2026 is a favoring wind. Others will face tests that clarify priorities. In all cases, the theme is agency. Astrology points to flow and opportunity, not fate written in stone. Thesis: a focused group of Western signs are poised to thrive in 2026 if they seize the moment. They'll experience pronounced boosts in career momentum, creative visibility, relationship awakenings, or inner authority, provided they act with strategy. The rest of the zodiac will not be left behind. They'll have meaningful shifts too, often in quieter or more corrective forms. Below, I name the top thrivers first, then take you through each sign's profile so you know when to move and how to protect what matters. Top thrivers: Aries, Leo, Capricorn, Scorpio, Aquarius, Gemini. These 6 signs are the most likely to pick up speed and turn it into forward progress. For each, I'll explain why the firehorse favors them, where gains are most likely to show up, the seasonal windows to watch, one clear action to take, and one caution, the blind spot that can turn momentum into loss. Top thriver: Aries, Leo, Capricorn, Scorpio, Aquarius, Gemini. These 6 signs are the most likely to pick up speed and turn it into forward progress. For each, I'll explain why the firehorse favors them, where gains are most likely to show up, the seasonal windows to watch, one clear action to take, and one caution, the blind spot that can turn momentum into loss. Top thriver: Aries. The firehorse and Aries speak the same language: directness, speed, appetite for the new. 2026 hands you a turbocharged version of your usual courage. Projects you start early in the year can gain unexpected traction by spring. The shock of a quick breakthrough can reframe a whole 5-year plan. Where momentum lands: career breakthroughs and public visibility. New leadership roles, launch opportunities, and contracts that require a quick yes are likely to come through, particularly when you've already built basic credibility. Relationship-wise, single Aries could find someone intense and kinetic entering their orbit. Partnered Aries may be pushed to renegotiate boundaries and priorities in ways that inject fresh vitality. Timing window: spring, March, April for bold starts. That's when doors are most likely to swing open. Summer, June, August, brings consolidation. The early decision shows its first returns. Autumn, September, October, is a testing ground for sustainability. December can deliver a climax, a high-profile success, or a decisive break. Practical action: say yes to one bold offer before April, but only if it doesn't require you to abandon core commitments. Create a 90-day sprint plan for whatever you launch. Clear milestones, a single accountable partner, and a daily habit that moves the needle. Caution: your speed can outpace due diligence. The firehorse rewards quick decisions, not careless ones. Check contracts, get one trusted second opinion, and don't let charisma alone be the reason you commit. Many-gem: the wind that pushes you forward is real. Point it at something you already care about. Top thriver, Leo. The firehorse is a stage light for Leo. Where Aries gets a wind at the back, Leo gets a spotlight. 2026 makes charisma and creative risk pay in ways that are public and far-reaching. If you've been sitting on a creative project, a brand idea, or a leadership proposal, this is the year it can find an audience. Where momentum lands, creative visibility, brand building, and romantic reinvention. For Leos in business, the year favors strategic partnerships that raise your profile. Social media moments, a viral launch, or a well-timed public presentation could catalyze new streams of opportunity. Personal reinvention, haircut, wardrobe overhaul, public persona shift will feel aligned and be noticed. Timing window. Late spring into early summer, May-July, is when the most visible gains appear. Autumn brings the practical tie-ins, monetization, contracts, formal recognition. December can be a dramatic curtain call, particularly in personal relationships and public-facing work. Practical action. Invest in presentation. Tighten your portfolio, refresh visuals, rehearse your pitch until it's a story you can tell without notes. Schedule 2 high-impact appearances, one in summer, one in autumn, that put you where decision-makers can see you. Caution: the firehorse amplifies ego as much as impact. Beware overextension and the temptation to promise more than you can deliver. Balance the desire to be seen with small, measurable deliverables that preserve reputation. Mini-gem: let the spotlight find work that's already excellent. Don't fake the brilliance and hope the light will cover cracks. Top thriver, Capricorn. If anyone knows what to do with acceleration, it's Capricorn. The firehorse hands momentum to those who will scale responsibility into lasting structures. For Capricorn, 2026 is less about a single flashy win and more about turning a steady foundation into expanded influence. Where momentum lands? Career scaling, structural advancements, and financial leverage. Think promotions that change scope, business expansion, or the acceptance of higher fiduciary responsibility. Investments in systems, hiring, tech upgrades, operational clarity will compound strongly. Relationship-wise, seriousness and commitment conversations can lead to deeper partnership or clean breaks that remove dead weight. Timing window. Spring, March-April, for opportunities to accept bigger roles. Summer for building infrastructure. Autumn for harvest and consolidation. December for formalization, signings, titles, or legal confirmations. Practical action. Create a 12-month roadmap that links one bold target to a credible set of steps. Hire or appoint a person who can run day-to-day while you scale. Protect time every week for strategic thinking, 3 uninterrupted hours, so speed doesn't replace strategy. Caution: the rush may mask ignored liabilities. Don't take on scale without stress testing cash flow, key contracts, and team capacity. The firehorse rewards expansion, but not expansion built on sand. Mini-gem: momentum matters most when it is tethered to structure. Top thriver, Scorpio. Scorpio's magnetism meets the firehorse's intensity in 2026, producing deep, often private transformations that yield visible results. This year cuts through pretense. What remains is more powerful because it's authentic. Scorpio's ability to focus and regenerate will be a huge asset. Where momentum lands? Transformational partnerships, financial recalibration, and authority in specialist areas. Scorpio may find a strategic alliance or investor who sees the depth beneath your offer and back it. In personal life, 2026 can be a year of clearing shadow patterns and stepping into a more integrated version of yourself, which will change how others respond. Timing window. Early spring, March, for a catalytic contact. Midsummer, July-August, for resource shifts and financial realignment. Autumn for consolidation. December for an inner culmination, a new identity or public reveal. Practical action. Deepen one strategic relationship. Choose one collaborator or mentor and invest serious time in trust building. Simultaneously, do a financial audit with a trusted advisor to reallocate resources where they can scale. Caution: the firehorse favors quick cuts.
Be deliberate about pruning people and projects. Scorpio's intensity can burn bridges that weren't ready to be removed. Make one measured exit at a time. Mini gem. The purifying flame makes what you are willing to claim visible. Claim the work you actually do.
Top thriver, Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of systems, networks, and ideas, and the firehorse brings forward momentum to things that spread. 2026 could be the year your concept becomes contagious, your small community becomes a movement, or your tech idea catches a structural break. Where momentum lands: networking scale, tech or idea adoption, and collective projects. If you've been building a community, a platform, or a prototype, rapid adoption or strategic alliances may appear. Aquarius is likely to be pulled into collaborative roles that make use of your big picture thinking. Timing window: spring for viral adoption windows, summer for building infrastructure and partnerships, autumn for legal or commercial anchoring, December for a public milestone or major rollout. Practical action: package your idea for distribution. Create a simple, repeatable narrative and one concrete channel to test it: an event, a mini course, or a pilot partnership. Measure reach and be ready to scale what works. Caution: the price of speed is diluted focus. Don't chase every community lead. Prioritize platforms or partners that align with your long-term vision, not the ones that merely promise quick numbers. Mini gem: the firehorse wants your idea to move. Give it a path to run. Top thriver, Gemini. Gemini thrives under the firehorse because movement, versatility, and communication are your strengths. 2026 can bring sudden recognition for what you say and who you connect. Opportunities will often arrive via conversation or an unexpected contact. Where momentum lands: communication-led gains, short-term projects that open new doors, and relationship recalibration. For writers, speakers, sales-facing roles, or anyone who trades in words and connection, this year could supply launches and invitations that expand your reach. Romantic and social life can quicken into meaningful new patterns. Timing window: spring, March, April for offers that begin with a conversation. Late spring into summer for rapid networking expansion. Autumn for consolidation. December for a key reveal or a relationship turning point. Practical action: network with an aim. Pick 5 people to reach out to in March and set a one-question agenda for each conversation that moves toward a specific goal. Record your ideas. Refine a short pitch that explains the value you offer in 1 minute. Caution: superficial connections that come quickly can feel like wins but add distraction. Prioritize 2 or 3 relationships to deepen rather than a long list of acquaintances. Mini gem: the quickest words can open the longest doors. Choose which ones to speak. How these 6 cluster together. Notice a pattern. The firehorse doesn't reward a single talent. It rewards the deployment of a sign's core strength under pressure. Aries acts. Leo presents. Capricorn organizes scale. Scorpio deepens and purifies. Aquarius spreads the idea. Gemini connects the dots. If you are one of these signs, your path to thriving in 2026 is to pair signature competence with a single clarifying strategy and a risk filter. Across the 6, the year asks for 3 consistent practices. First, move quickly when the opportunity is credible, yes, but with a backstop of due diligence. Second, prune to preserve focus. Not everything that accelerates should be taken. Third, create short-term structures, sprint plans, review checkpoints, trusted advisors that convert momentum into durable advantage. An early pattern you'll notice in the first half of the year is the importance of alignment between inner clarity and outward action. If you rush without clarity, the firehorse will teach you with sharp feedback. If you sit on clarity without action, the current will pass. The productive place is the narrow seam between the two, small, decisive bets that scale into larger moves. Seasonal beats for the top thrivers, quick orientation. Spring, March, April, the prime window for saying yes. Invitations arrive, doors open, and choices must be made. This is the initial ignition phase. Summer, June-August, consolidation phase. What you started in spring either stabilizes or requires structural support. Hire, systemize, or formalize. Autumn, September-October, harvesting and testing. Does the early momentum hold? Many contracts and recognitions show their substance here. December, potential climax. A public reveal, a large contract, or a personal turning point may arrive as the year culminates. Practical guardrails across all top thrivers. Every sign that benefits from the firehorse must manage two opposing risks: impulsive overreach and paralysis by caution. The guardrails are simple. Set a clear threshold for commitment, money, time, or equity. Secure a single trusted advisor for blind spot review, and schedule deliberate rest blocks to prevent burnout. What success looks like in practice. Success isn't only a title or a contract. For many, thriving in 2026 is an internal shift. Confidence that didn't exist before, clarity about who to keep in your circle, or the first month of recurring revenue that proves a model. The firehorse can deliver both the public trophy and the quiet consolidation of identity. Keep both on your radar. A note on risk tolerance and timing. The firehorse elevates speed, but not always perfect timing. Sometimes discarding an old attachment quickly is the most productive move. Sometimes leaning in for 3 months and letting a project gather steam yields a larger harvest. Use seasonal tendencies as probabilistic guides rather than fixed deadlines. If something feels aligned with your long-term aims and its downside is manageable, the firehorse can be the push that turns potential into momentum. Small but powerful rituals to harness the firehorse. The 90-day sprint. Pick one measurable goal, break it into weekly milestones, and review progress every Sunday for course corrections. The pruning list. Every month, remove one task, one recurring meeting, or one contact that no longer adds value. The safety net. Set aside a modest opportunity fund, a small reserve to seize immediate chances without destabilizing essentials. Already, the pattern is forming. The 6 signs listed above will see windows where acceleration can be translated into lasting change. But the zodiac is a whole field, not just spotlights. The remaining signs will experience 2026 differently. Tests that clarify, quieter openings that steer growth, and moments that ask for repair before expansion. Those stories are equally important and will require their own seasonal choreography and practical tactics. As we move into deeper profiles, the urgency of decision-making becomes clearer. For the top thrivers, choices made in spring will echo all year. For everyone else, timing and calibrated action will dictate whether the firehorse's heat becomes a forge that strengthens or a blaze that consumes energy without return. There's one more point to underline before we transition into the next set of forecasts. Momentum multiplies when paired with relationship capital. In 2026, the people you trust and the networks you cultivate are more likely than usual to convert your initiative into resources. That means the single best use of your time this year may be to solidify 2 or 3 partnerships that can move with you when opportunity appears. Strengthen those ties now. The firehorse will be faster than expected. Keep these images in mind. A mounted rider choosing which gate to accelerate through, a blacksmith turning coal into a blade, a crowded field thinned by a decisive pass, because they capture the choice in front of you. Momentum without strategy is noise. Momentum with a plan becomes leverage. We've named the top 6 signs and sketched how each can harness the firehorse. The next stage is to map the remaining half of the zodiac, the signs that will experience 2026 as a time of correction, consolidation, or quiet opening, and then to lay out a detailed seasonal playbook everyone can use. Before that, take a moment. If any of the descriptions so far landed precisely on a situation you're facing, note the timing window and the single action step I suggested. Those small decisions are the units that add up to a transformed year. Hold on to the idea that 2026 is catalytic, not deterministic. The firehorse hands momentum to those who are ready for it.
For those who prepare, however modest that preparation, what follows can be significant. An authentic repositioning, a leap in authority, or a recalibration that makes the next 5 years more coherent. We will continue into the remaining zodiac and the seasonal playbook, mapping how each sign can turn the firehorse's energy into something they can steward, sustain, and grow. The path that follows will show where to conserve, where to spend, and where to strike while the wind is at your back.
Taurus. Taurus 2026 is a year that asks you to revalue your foundations. The firehorse doesn't shove you out of the barn, it asks whether the barn still houses what you need. For you, the energy often arrives as an invitation to trade slow certainty for a calibrated upgrade. Better systems, smarter revenue streams, or a relationship contract that demands clearer terms. Expect opportunities to surface that require a steady yes rather than a passionate leap. Momentum lands in practical restructuring, income diversification, renegotiation of roles, and small but decisive moves that compound. Watch spring, March, April, for an opening that asks you to change how you do money or how you schedule your time. Summer, June, August, is ideal for implementing new systems. Put processes in place then so autumn can reveal whether the changes stick. December may bring a formal confirmation, a new contract, an agreement, or the first month of recurring results from something you retooled. Your single practical action. Choose one recurring expense or one task you do every week and redesign it with scalability in mind. Convert a habit into a system. Automate, delegate, or streamline it. That small change will free up energy for larger choices. Caution. Your patience is a strength, but can become a trap against needed change. Don't let comfort displace progress. Test every new obligation for return on attention before you sign on. Mini gem. Steady hands steer fast horses. Small systems let momentum run. Cancer. Cancer, the firehorse stirs the places where you keep your emotional capital and your long-term security. 2026 may press you to make visible what you've been protecting quietly, to ask for what you need, or to restructure the domestic or financial arrangements that have felt sticky for too long. This is less about public fireworks and more about the liberation that comes from decisive boundary setting. Momentum lands in personal recalibration, moving, repurposing a home space for income, or stepping into a more consistent caregiving plus work balance. Spring is a sensitive moment, March, April, when conversations that were simmering will want closure. Midsummer, July, could deliver a practical solution, a new living arrangement, a renegotiated schedule, or the beginning of a side income that feels aligned. Autumn tests whether the changes hold. December may be quietly satisfying, with a sense of domestic stability you've been working toward. Your single practical action. Write a one-page agreement for one relationship or household role that's been vague. Make expectations explicit and sign it in ink or email. Clear wording creates speed. Caution. Avoid rushing emotional exits or financial commitments out of fear. The firehorse can push you to act fast. Make sure your heart and head have both agreed before you move. Mini gem. Clarity at home becomes leverage everywhere else. Cancer. Cancer, the firehorse stirs the places where you keep your emotional capital and your long-term security. 2026 may press you to make visible what you've been protecting quietly, to ask for what you need, or to restructure the domestic or financial arrangements that have felt sticky for too long. This is less about public fireworks and more about the liberation that comes from decisive boundary setting. Momentum lands in personal recalibration, moving, repurposing a home space for income, or stepping into a more consistent caregiving plus work balance. Spring is a sensitive moment, March, April, when conversations that were simmering will want closure. Midsummer, July, could deliver a practical solution, a new living arrangement, a renegotiated schedule, or the beginning of a side income that feels aligned. Autumn tests whether the changes hold.
December may be quietly satisfying, with a sense of domestic stability you've been working toward. Your single practical action: write a one-page agreement for one relationship or household role that's been vague. Make expectations explicit and sign it in ink or email. Clear wording creates speed. Caution: avoid rushing emotional exits or financial commitments out of fear. The firehorse can push you to act fast. Make sure your heart and head have both agreed before you move. Mini gem: clarity at home becomes leverage everywhere else.
Virgo. Virgo 2026 activates the problem-solving part of your nature with unusual speed. The firehorse makes your knack for optimization a premium skill. People and organizations will pay for the way you make complexity simple and reliable. This is a year to make your competence visible without letting perfectionism clip your momentum. Momentum lands in skill-based recognition, consulting opportunities, and pragmatic productization of your knowledge. Spring brings offers that expect fast turnarounds. Say yes to pilot projects in March-April if they come with clear boundaries. Summer is for systematizing what worked. Package one service, course, or product that can be repeated. Autumn will show whether the repeatable model scales. December may be a quiet reward: a steady client, a recurring contract, or an academic or professional acknowledgement. Your single practical action: pick one skill you can teach in 90 days and build a minimal viable offering, a short course, a template, or a workshop. Test it with a small cohort and iterate. Caution: don't let the firehorse's pace trigger an all-or-nothing standard. Perfection can stall the sprint. Ship the useful thing, then refine. Mini gem: useful, repeatable systems beat immaculate solitude. Libra. Libra, the firehorse calls you to choose with greater courage. Where you normally weigh options and prefer harmony, 2026 asks you to decide and move. This can feel counterintuitive, but lean into it. Decisive action is not the enemy of balance this year. It's the way you realize better balance. Momentum lands in partnerships and visibility that come through alliances, collaborations, joint ventures, or relationship shifts that redefine your personal life. Spring is key for moment-of-choice offers that feel diplomatic but demand a yes or no. Summer is for building the scaffolding of new collaborations. Autumn asks whether these alliances respect mutual values. December can bring a socially resonant milestone: a public collaboration, a wedding, or a legal partnership notice. Your single practical action: set a decision deadline. For any new collaboration that surfaces this spring, give yourself 10 business days to decide and a short list of 3 non-negotiables that must be met before you sign. Caution: don't chase consensus at the cost of speed. The firehorse values a timely answer more than a delayed, perfect agreement. Mini gem: clarity and choice creates the harmony you actually want. Sagittarius. Sagittarius, the firehorse feeds your appetite for expansion but asks you to be targeted. This year can widen your map. Travel, publishing, teaching, or a learning-to-income pivot may accelerate faster than you expect. Opportunities can arrive by way of a short adventure that leads to longer-term change. Momentum lands in expansion: new markets, quick learning projects that open doors, or a high-profile speaking, teaching moment. Spring is fertile for applications, pitches, or travel that seizes a sudden opening. Summer is when experience consolidates into strategy. Turn what you learned into a replicable offering. Autumn asks whether your expansion can be sustained. December can deliver a moment of recognition for a bold aim achieved. Your single practical action: commit to one public experiment, a workshop, a short tour, a published essay that shares your perspective and tests a larger audience's appetite. Caution: your optimism is a tool and a risk. Don't let the firehorse push you into overcommitment or shallow breadth. Prioritize depth in one direction rather than scattered adventure in many. Mini gem: aim wide, then refine to the axis that holds growth. Pisces. Pisces 2026 brings a practical call to embody your gifts with clearer boundaries. The firehorse can pull you from dream into decision. This is an unusually good year for translating creative or spiritual insight into serviceable forms, offerings people can actually purchase or organizations can implement. Momentum lands in creative professionalization, healing practices scaled into products, and relationship clarity that makes creative work sustainable. Spring offers an emotional clearing that enables you to name what you want to offer. Midsummer is ideal for testing a creative product or a professional pivot. Autumn will show whether you can sustain both inspiration and delivery. December can arrive with a public piece, a gallery showing, a launch, or a steady paying client that affirms the translation. Your single practical action: create a one-page offer. Reduce a creative or healing service to one clear deliverable, one price structure, and one target audience, and test it with 3 pilot clients or customers. Caution: don't confuse sensitivity with lack of boundaries. The firehorse rewards offers that include clear terms, timelines, and accountability. Mini gem: make the ethereal deliverable, then be generous with clear limits. Synthesis of the secondary winners. Across these 6 signs, the firehorse's signature call is the same. Take what you already value and make it ready for motion. For Taurus, that means upgrading foundations. For Cancer, it's boundary-based freedom. Virgo packages competence for scale. Libra converts fairness into decisive partnership. Sagittarius turns wanderlust into targeted expansion. Pisces converts dreams into deliverables. Each sign has a timing rhythm to watch and one practical lever to pull. Treat those levers as experiments. Try one, measure impact for 90 days, and adjust. Seasonal guide, a more detailed map. Spring, March-April, is the ignition phase. For most signs, this is when invitations, choices, and openings arrive. The firehorse prefers early momentum here. If an opportunity aligns with your long-term aim and the downside is manageable, it often pays to move in this window. Practically, make March a month for listening with an eye to saying yes. Put a decision deadline on any new proposal and clarify the smallest commitment that signals we're moving. Summer, June-August, is consolidation. The projects that emerged in spring either need systems to run or they fall flat. Use summer to set up operations, hire help, document processes, automate payments, and create a cadence of reviews. Summer is also the practical time for relationship work, renegotiating roles, clarifying expectations, and testing collaborations under heat. Think of this season as the check-in. Does the plan survive under active pressure? Autumn, September-October, is harvest and test. This is when the substance of early momentum becomes visible. Contracts might renew, revenue streams begin to recur, and public recognition often consolidates. Autumn is an evaluation season. What repeated itself? What needs pruning? Decide which projects to scale further and which to let go. December is the climax window, the year's public chapter close. For many people, the last month of the year brings a visible result: a large contract, a public reveal, a relationship milestone, or a tidy financial settling. It's also a time for personal reckoning. What story are you ending or carrying forward? Use December to seal agreements, archive lessons, and set intentions for the next cycle. Operational rhythm by season. In spring, prioritize outbound actions, applications, pitches, interviews, public asks, and setting decision deadlines. In summer, shift to inbound work, onboarding, system building, and staffing. In autumn, measure and optimize metrics that matter: revenue stability, client retention, relationship satisfaction. In December, document outcomes, celebrate progress, and create a one-page strategy for the next 12 months. Universal Firehorse Playbook: practical, tactical, and repeatable. The firehorse hands you speed. Your job is to convert speed into sustained advantage.
The following playbook is a set of tools you can adapt regardless of your sign. Use them as scaffolding for action. First, the decision filter. When an opportunity appears, ask 3 quick questions and give each a yes/no. Does this align with my one-year priority? Is the downside manageable? Will this require more time or money than I can afford to lose right now? If 2 of 3 answers are yes, consider a limited commitment. The filter is not perfect, but it prevents impulse and paralysis. Second, the 90-day sprint template. Pick one measurable outcome for 90 days. Define the end metric, launch, revenue target, partnership signed, program run, and break it into weekly milestones. Assign 1 accountable partner and 1 daily micro-habit that supports progress. Review every Sunday, celebrate small wins, and stop or pivot at the end of 90 days based on outcomes. Third, the pruning ritual.
At the end of each month, remove 1 task, 1 recurring meeting, or 1 contact that adds less value than it costs. Make pruning concrete. Archive an email thread, cancel a subscription, or end a project publicly and respectfully. The aim is to free attention without creating chaos. Fourth, the safety net. Keep a modest reserve for opportunities, not an exact amount, but a proportional buffer relative to your monthly commitments. Equally important, define what falling back looks like. Who can you call, which small revenue streams are reliable, and what cost can you cut within 48 hours if needed? Clarity here enables risk-taking. Fifth, the trusted advisor rule. For any major decision, name 1 person whose judgment you will seek. This person is not there to approve you, but to point out blind spots. Rotate advisors across domains. 1 for legal contracts, 1 for financial decisions, 1 for emotional or relational shifts. Sixth, the rest protocol. Schedule deliberate rest blocks. A minimum of 1 full day off per week, plus 3 deep focus hours twice a week for strategy. The firehorse accelerates outcomes. Rest prevents acceleration from turning into burnout. Seventh, the financial vet. Before saying yes to anything that affects your cash flow for more than 3 months, run a short financial stress test. What happens if revenue drops 30% for 3 months? What are the non-negotiable expenses? Who is paid first? This is not a deep audit, but a quick scan risk check. Decision-making templates and scripts. When you need to say yes quickly but want to secure a pause for due diligence, use a short script. This opportunity sounds aligned, and I'm interested. I can commit with 1 condition: a 10-day window to review the terms and confirm operational details. Will that work for you? This keeps momentum without blind commitment. When you must refuse under pressure, be brief and kind. I appreciate the offer, but I'm not able to commit to this timeline. I'd like to stay connected in case our paths align later. Leaving the door crack open preserves relationship capital. Vetting partners quickly. Ask 3 practical questions. What problem did you solve last quarter? Can you share 1 reference or case example? How do you handle conflicts or missed deadlines? If answers are vague, request a short pilot before signing a long-term agreement. Negotiation essentials. When offered a large-sounding opportunity, negotiate structure, not just headline. Break the deal into phases with clear deliverables and checkpoints. Ask for a small upfront commitment that indicates serious intent. This reduces the chance that a fast yes becomes a long regret. A longer look at the 90-day sprint. A sample 90-day sprint provides a concrete framework you can borrow. Week 1, clarify the target, list weekly milestones, block your calendar, and name an accountability partner. Weeks 2 through 8, execute weekly targets, document progress, and remove 1 overhead task each week that distracts. Weeks 9 through 12, measure the results against your target, prepare a short case study or report of outcomes, and decide whether to scale, iterate, or stop. The pruning list, what to remove. Begin with 1 small item you keep because habit, not value. That could be a weekly meeting with low ROI, an email newsletter you never read, or a side project that drains energy.
Replace it with one focused action that supports your sprint target. Over weeks, the small removals add up to a significant shift in capacity. Mental frameworks to support rapid action. Adopt a probabilistic mindset. Treat choices as bets with variable odds, not absolute destinies. Frame moves as experiments rather than irreversible statements. Rehearse a small internal prompt before action. Is this an aligned bet? Is the downside acceptable? Do I have one fallback? This keeps courage and prudence in balance. How to manage relationships under the firehorse. People move fast in 2026. Your partners may ask you to choose before you feel ready. Use two tools, the PIQ conversation and the one-page agreement. PIQ stands for purpose, input, and quality. When a collaboration forms, agree on the purpose, how input will be given, and what quality looks like. The one-page agreement is a short document that outlines roles, timelines, and what happens if things go off track. Both create speed through clarity. What the firehorse asks you to release. There will be moments when momentum asks you to let things go. The test is simple. If keeping this thing costs more attention than the reward justifies over 3 months, consider releasing it. Release is not failure, it is optimization. 2 illustrative vignettes. Imagine Eliana, a mid-career product manager and a Taurus, who in March hears about a small startup looking for someone to run product for a tight 3-month pilot. The role pays modestly and requires quick decisions. She runs a decision filter. Aligns with her 1-year priority of building leadership experience. Her downside, 3 months, is manageable, and she can carve the time from a low-value committee she prunes. She says yes, creates a 90-day sprint, hires a contract designer in June, and by autumn, the pilot converts into a part-time leadership role with recurring revenue. She credits the clarity of the sprint and the pruning ritual for making the fast move sustainable. Picture Mateo, a Cancer with an existing home-based therapy practice. In April, he's offered a partnership to scale online. He's tempted but wary. He chooses a single practical action. Write a 1-page agreement with clear terms and a 90-day pilot. He keeps a safety net and asks a trusted advisor to review the draft. By July, the partnership increases his client base and allows him to hire an assistant. He avoids overextension because he committed only to a staged agreement.
These stories are not guarantees. They are examples of how a few repeatable tactics, the decision filter, a 90-day sprint, pruning, and trusted advice, can convert firehorse velocity into sustainable change. Metrics and measurements that matter. Decide up front what small number will tell you whether to continue. For a launch, that might be 3 paying clients or a conversion rate. For a collaboration, it could be a single milestone delivered on time. Choose simple metrics you can track weekly. Complexity will slow you down. How to resist common firehorse traps. 3 traps recur in accelerated years. First, the all-or-nothing trap. Thinking a single move must solve everything. Break big aims into experiments. Second, the shine trap. Mistaking visibility for substance. Always pair a public move with a private deliverable. Third, the overextension trap. Saying yes to everything keeps you busy but not moving forward. Use the pruning ritual to fight accumulation. Personal practices that compound. Small daily practices will support long-term momentum. Begin each day with a 15-minute priority review. What is the single most important action that moves your 90-day metric? End each week with a 30-minute review. What progressed, what blocked, and what will you prune? These brief bookends create a rhythm that the firehorse respects. How to talk with people about your firehorse year. If you're in a leadership or relational role, make your stance clear. Say something concise like, "This year, I'm prioritizing 3 projects and testing them quickly. I may need to say no more often. I'll share progress monthly so we stay aligned." Clear communication prevents misunderstandings and turns your acceleration into shared momentum. When to get external advice.
If any commitment involves other people's money for 6 months or more, consult a financial or legal professional. If the offer affects your immigration, housing, or core family arrangements, seek counsel. The firehorse values speed, but some structures require expertise you don't have. Ethics and honor in rapid moves. Moving fast doesn't excuse poor treatment. Honor people by giving reasonable notice, paying agreed fees, and communicating honestly when things change. Reputation compounds. The social capital you build this year will be one of your most valuable assets. How to craft a December finish that matters. Plan December as both closure and launch. Use it to finalize one major agreement, document lessons, and publish a short report on what you learned. This closing ceremony creates momentum into the next year and turns an accelerated season into an enduring narrative. A checklist to know whether 2026 is your moment. You feel an unusual clarity about one project. You have one small reserve to seize opportunities. You can name one trusted advisor for blind spot review. You are ready to prune one energy-draining commitment.
If you can tick 3 of these, you've built practical readiness to use the firehorse. Final synthesis. 2026 will hand many people more speed and sharper tests than they're used to. The firehorse is an ally of decisive people who also build systems. For some, the top thrivers we named, the energetic overlay simply amplifies an existing alignment. Aries with action, Leo with visibility, Capricorn with scale, Scorpio with deep transformation, Aquarius with networked ideas, Gemini with connection. For the rest of the zodiac, including Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, Libra, Sagittarius, and Pisces, the year asks for upgrade, boundary, systematization, choice, focused expansion, and professionalization respectively. Across the entire zodiac, the same set of disciplines turns momentum into lasting gain. Make decisions with a filter. Run 90-day sprints. Prune without drama. Build a modest safety net. Name trusted advisors. Protect rest. Translate inspiration into deliverables. These practices keep the firehorse from simply accelerating noise. They let it forge competence into consequence. If any of this landed with you, mark the seasonal windows I mentioned and pick one practical action suggested for your sign. Make a short plan, share it with a trusted person, and set a date to review progress. Small, decisive moves are the currency of this year. If you want a deeper sign-by-sign map for 2026 with downloadable worksheets for your 90-day sprint, the pruning ritual, and a one-page agreement template, check the links in the description. Subscribe for more focused forecasts, and if this video helped you shape a plan, save it so you can return to the timelines and tactics as the year unfolds. The firehorse will arrive like a swift wind. It will not force your fate, but it will reveal where your readiness meets opportunity. Choose wisely, act with care, and let this year refine you rather than simply propel you. If you prepare, 2026 can be the year when movement becomes meaningful and speed becomes mastery.